What's up, guys? It's Rob here, and today we need to talk about Vinco Ventures, ticker symbol BBIG, because this stock just had some kind of crazy news come out for it. And a lot of people are talking about the new short interest on this stock that may be pumping it up to extraordinary highs in the future. Now, let's take a look at the chart and see what this has caused price action wise. Now, you can see yesterday or Friday, last trading day, we were dipping below $6 for a while before breaking out above 6, our supreme support level, where we had basically no support below $6. So it's very fortunate that we were able to break above that, and that actually caused a rally up to 8, and we've since been kind of fading away during pre-market and early morning trading. However, that wasn't all that caused the rally, right? It wasn't just our buoying off of 6. However, these support and resistance levels do tend to have a rather large impact on the stock overall. On any stock, they tend to have a rather large impact. So it was somewhat predictable that either, under 6, this thing, if it stayed below 6, would be dipping down much further. But if it did end up buoying above, then it was pretty obvious that it was going to buoy in a somewhat significant way and get fairly high. So it did that. It got to 8. Now, what's been going on with this stock, I will explain just for anyone who's new, who isn't up to date with the current situation. Basically, BBIG was trading very low, around $2.12 about a month ago, and we've since been just having a kind of extremely volatile ride with this stock. We've been pumping up and down and up and down and up and then down for a while, and now it looks like we're on the move up again, potentially, right? As long as we can stay, above this $7 level, hopefully pump up above 8. We'll see, right? There is a lot of momentum with this stock and a lot of new people getting involved in it ever since this news came out on Reddit. Now, I will talk about this, and I'm not entirely sure, right? First of all, before I discuss this, I do not want to convince anyone to, invest in this stock if they aren't comfortable with it. I don't want to convince anyone to sell their shares of this stock if they do like it. This isn't financial advice. This is just my opinion on the stock, but I will point out what some people have been saying. So this little picture right here that someone has posted of BBIG says BBIG has a historic short interest of 260%, confirmed by 5 or 6 brokerages so far, and many others are hiding short interest data for this ticker. So basically what this person is talking about is, I'm going to discuss it a little bit more on the next page that we're going to, but basically he's saying that BBIG, when you look at Ortex, only shows a 26% short interest as a percentage of the free float. He is saying, or she is saying, that this is actually 260% based off of people who are forced to hold their shares for one reason or another. Now, if you look on the next page, there's someone else who's discussing this. They have the latest Form 14A common shares. It shows basically that there are 97 million shares available, right? And that's what everyone is using. That's what Ortex is using to determine the short interest as a percentage of the free float. However, this person is saying that there are some holders of these shares, like Hudson Bay, that has 77 million of them. Paul Yang has 5.5 million of them. And other officers and directors have 6 million of them. And if you account for those, he says, these shares will be locked ahead of the merger. So subtract Hudson, Paul, and the executives from the 97 million, and you only have 8 million left. Now, he's saying TD Ameritrade and other brokerages, Vinco Venture, Ortex as well, has about 21 million. Now it's 22 million as more people have been shorting short interest on this thing. So that much divided by 8 million is 260%. That's where they're getting this 260% short interest number from the shorted shares divided by the supposed free float after all of these people who are not allowed to touch their shares, after those are counted for being locked up instead of, the actual free float, just the, technical free float of 97 million. If you actually do some additional investigation, he's saying that these people, based off of this, are holding this many shares and that they're unable to buy or sell them, and that is essentially contributing to the free float of the company being much lower than what a lot of, brokerages and data providing platforms like Ortex are guesstimating for this. So he's saying 26%, throw that out the window. That's not the real short interest, not what Ortex is showing, but 260%. And, we've heard this kind of stuff before, and maybe it's even true, right? With SPRT, we've heard that there was an incredibly high short interest. Even Ortex was showing an incredibly high short interest. Now, that may be true, but I want to point out to you guys, these are very risky situations. And just because the short interest is incredibly high doesn't mean the stock has to pump. We've seen what's happened with some other stocks like SPRT. When the merger went through, there was a lot of buzz on Reddit where people were saying that the shorts had to cover, and that wasn't the case. So sometimes, it seems like a situation can sound really great on Reddit, and Wall Street Bets, but maybe it's not the best researched. I mean, it's really tough to figure out what's going on in the stock market and to actually figure out a situation where, you have a guaranteed win when on this date, XYZ is going to happen and cause the price to go up 100%. It's really tough to say with 100% certainty that that's going to be the case. Now, this does look like some decent research, what I've seen. I'm not entirely convinced on it 100% either way. If I was 100% convinced on it, obviously I'd be buying up a ton of BBIG shares and even options because that would mean that the price is probably going to spike. Now, because I've seen this kind of stuff in the past, oftentimes people will try to hype stuff up. Maybe these people are owning BBIG shares. Maybe there is the potential situation where they're even working for or are employees of some kind of institution that's shorting BBIG and just wants more bag holders of BBIG shares. Maybe they're trying to offload some BBIG shares. It's very possible. You never really know what's going on. It would really take a lot of digging to actually figure out what's going on with this. I'm not necessarily sure where one could begin confirming or denying if this is true. It would be tough to say, but there are some things that we can use to actually analyze BBIG from a more technical perspective that I do prefer to use, like what we looked at earlier today when we saw this thing bobbing below 6, right? It was fairly obvious at the end of the day that this thing was going to be running quite a bit because it had broken above that key resistance level, or rather key support level. It had broken back up above, and it was fairly obvious that it was going to be bobbing above. Obviously, it coincided with the news and probably got a bigger boost than it would have normally gotten. However, what you can do is look at BBIG on Google Trends, and you can actually see that this stock will likely be rising in the future, even if this isn't true, right? Even if this is just a farce and it's a hoax and it's fake, which seems fairly legitimate. We'll really have to see with it. I mean, it's tough to say with these kinds of things. Even if they're right, it doesn't mean the stock is going to go up. But what does mean the stock will likely go up, in my opinion, is that we are getting a lot more attention for this stock. A lot more people are probably piling into it. And if you want to trade it, my guess is that it will probably be rising over the next couple of days, just because we have been seeing such a huge spike in interest in BBIG. This is the Google Trends data for BBIG. You can see we are spiking massively just today. If you look at the past week, we have surpassed any day in the past week, and this is just a little blip in the radar right here. Sometimes Google does that and gets a little bit messed up, but you can see that today we are actually having a legitimate spike in interest on Google Trends and BBIG, and you can actually see on Reddit as well. We're up 76 places, the number 5 talked about stock on Reddit and Wall Street Bets, 4,400% increase mention-wise over the past 24 hours. We have 225 mentions, 1,300 upvotes, and this just happened today, so likely this is going to continue for a while, right? This post and other posts are likely going to continue gaining popularity. I do expect that BBIG will likely rise up in price because when you have something that sounds so concrete like this, right, that they have a 260% short interest as a percentage of the free float, it sounds very promising for the stock, and maybe it is. Maybe it's going to work. Maybe this data is accurate and it's actually going to be real and this thing is going to pump up a ton. But regardless of whether or not it's true, just the fact that it's out there and is getting so much attention means that this will likely be pumping up a bit as more traders are taking a position in it as they hear about this. But what I will say about this stock and the potential situation where that might not be true is you can actually see the short interest has increased by 2.86% today, and that does kind of indicate to me that maybe this isn't as true as it seems, or there's something that we just don't know about yet. Maybe someone just hasn't found some other piece of information, like maybe these people have updated share counts, maybe they are allowed to sell their shares, who knows what could really be going on. But the fact that we are up on short interest today, typically it's institutions who are shorting shares, right? And those institutions do tend to do a bit of research before they short shares. It doesn't mean they're always profitable, but if there was a situation where the short interest was already 260% of the free float, I would be very wary if I were an institution of shorting additional shares, because that really would mean this has the potential to just blow up in my face. And if you look at it from a risk reward standpoint, right? If you look at it from a risk reward standpoint, let's look at the past 180 days. This stock has seen lows of $1.30 about 180 days ago. That was a while ago, before they had an actual big pump up in price. But more recently, it's been down to around $2. So, you're at 6, 7 right now, really. Maybe you can pump it down to 2 and get like a 70% gain on this thing. But the situation, if it were true that we had a 260% short interest as a percentage of the free float, the situation where we could be pumping up would be so monumentally risky that it just wouldn't be worth it to me if I were an institution. Obviously, institutions have different metrics and probably different risk tolerances, and they might not care about the chance that this thing just blows up. But it doesn't seem too likely to me that, institutions would be shorting this thing further without knowing something that we don't, without knowing that, there are some insiders who are going to give them shares when they need it, or that something's going to happen on the merger. It's tough to say, but just because this is getting shorted further kind of leads me to believe that maybe this thing won't be, shorted and to oblivion, right? That it won't be just pumped up off a 260% short interest as a percentage of the free float. I just don't know if it's really going to be shooting up that high because of that. I do think that it will likely be rising because of all the interest it's getting, though. I think that that's a real metric that we can actually measure and know for sure. I do appreciate the research that other people have done to find that, but I'm just not sure if it's 100% accurate. So thank you guys for watching. That's really all I have for you on BBIG. I will be covering this in the future as the situation develops. So if you enjoy this video, then feel free to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel for those additional updates. Other than that, guys, I'll see you in the next one. Have a great day. Bye.